Hey guys, Harry Thomas here and welcome to my ranking of the 7 Star Wars movies. Now, we finally covered and reviewed all 7 movies from episode 1 to episode 7, and if you've seen my reviews you will know my opinion on them. Some Star Wars movies are obviously better than others, but that's the same with every franchise. But despite that, I do not think there's a single bad Star Wars film to be found here. Well, some will argue that the prequel's the only bad Star Wars films, but I even defend the prequels. Yes, I like them all, even the prequels. So making this list was a tough decision for me, but I've thought about it for a long time, and I've come up with a ranking. So uh, as long as you guys respect my opinion, because you're not all going to agree with me, and I can respect yours too, and we can all have fun with this list. So let's now travel back to a galaxy far, far away, and may the Force be with you. Number 7 on my list would be Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, it isn't any surprise to anybody that The Phantom Menace I consider the weakest of the Star Wars movies, as many fans would agree, but not to say I hate it, far from it. I think all the prequels are underrated, even Phantom Menace. I love the opening action scene on the Trade Federation. I didn't mind Jar Jar Binks, as unnecessary and annoying as he was, and I love the pod race. That's a masterfully done Star Wars scene. I freaking adore the lightsaber fight Duel of Fates at the end, and Darth Maul, awesome villain. Shame he had to die so soon, and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, very intriguing Jedi Knights with great performances from both Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor, and John Williams' score absolutely phenomenal. But what really brought this film down was just the boring taxation and political plots that took up way too much of the film, and the pass on Tatooine, while it is necessary to find Anakin, really did drag. Although in that I did admire Anakin's sweet relationship with his mother, and his relationship with Padme actually felt natural and wasn't boring this time round. Although the writing and the directing and most of the performances could have been improved, and the CGI does look incredibly dated now, but yeah, The Phantom Menace, it's still a good movie, more to love than there isn't. So, but they're definitely the weakest of the Star Wars movies. There have been much better. Number 2 on my list, the other most hated Star Wars movies, and also to nobody's surprise, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now, Attack of the Clones, I can see why people hate it, because boy does it have its problems like the Phantom Menace, but it is a minor improvement over Phantom Menace, simply because the politics are pushed aside this time. There's much less Jar Jar, thank God, and Anakin actually is a Jedi. He's much more of a badass, relatable character than he was in Phantom Menace. In fact, some could argue this was where the prequels should have really started, and despite Anakin and Padme's romance being boring as hell, and particularly in the middle, at least it's not as bad as people say. At least they share some genuine chemistry, and at least their romance improves in Revenge of the Sith and actually led to something, and it was necessary. Otherwise, Luke and Leia wouldn't have been born. Ewan McGregor stole the show as Obi-Wan Kenobi, despite having to act with CGI creatures most of the film. He did a great job. His fight with Jango Fett was freaking awesome. Jango Fett, worthy successor to Boba Fett. Christopher Lee, despite getting a lack of screen time, always awesome as Count Dooku. And the finale of this movie, the Battle of Geonosis, absolutely epic, especially the Jedi battle and the clone and droid battle, and seeing Yoda just pull out a lightsaber. Oh, that is awesome. It even did a decent job with setting up Anakin's return to the dark side, where he fails to save Shmi and just goes on a killing spree, just slaughtering the Tusken Raiders. That's at least some solid drama this film had, and I found it hilarious that George Lucas actually made Jar Jar be the one to give Palpatine emergency powers and help Palpatine create the Empire. That was his big middle finger to the Jar Jar hazers. So yeah, the writing and the script and the dialogue could be improved, but a decent movie. Minor improvement over Phantom Menace. Number 5 on my list would be, very surprisingly, Return of the Jedi. I know I've angered a lot of you Star Wars fans by putting Return of the Jedi this low. A lot of you must be like, how dare you put one of the originals this low, but well, I love Return of the Jedi, guys. It is I do not hate it, far from it. It is a great grand finale to the originals. It's just my least favourite of the originals. It just had some minor things in it, as great as it was, that really could have been improved. Like, the Ewoks didn't need to be in the film, and I would have rather the rebels allied with the Wookiees to take down the Empire at the end. The Ewoks beating the Stormtroopers completely took away the tension at the Battle of Endor for me. However, despite that, Return of the Jedi has way more to love. I love the first act where they go into Jabba's palace to rescue Han, battle the Rancor, and escape the Sarlacc pit. That was a exhilarating way to start the movie, even if Boba Fett did kind of go out too soon. I love the speeder showdown and the space battle of Endor, and the lightsaber duel between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor is epic. The confrontation between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor couldn't have been done any better, and Luke trying to turn his father to the dark side was such a compelling, amazing storyline. It was the heart of the movie, and seeing Darth Vader finally redeem himself and turn back to Darth Vader was so emotional, so satisfying, and that ending was so happy and uplifting. The rebellion have finally won, the Empire's finally been destroyed, and we see a ghost Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin smiling proudly. Oh, it was a worthy send-off to the trilogy. Now, Return of the Jedi may be my least favourite of the trilogy, but it's still great. Number 4 on my list, and again, this will shock a lot of you, Revenge of the Sith. I know, again, you Star Wars fans are mad. How dare you put one of the prequels above the originals? You're a traitor to Star Wars. But honestly, guys, the people who still hated Revenge of the Sith, even when it proved to be not that bad when it came out, and still consider it a piece of shit. I'm like, come on, guys, you're just hating the prequels on purpose. At least George Lucas sat down and he thought, this is the one prequel that we really need and really want, Anakin turns Darth Vader. I've really got to try with this one, and he did, and that really shows. The action is so much better here, the pacing is so much better, the dialogue, the acting, the emotion, and the scripts is all around better. Completely makes up for what was lacking in episode 1 and 2. And the opening battle above Coruscant, epic. Every lightsaber fight in this movie is just phenomenal, especially the Battle of Heroes on Mustafar and Yoda versus the Emperor. That was an epic finale, and there are some of the best Star Wars scenes to be found here, like the opera scene, beautifully shot scene with incredible backstory about Darth Plagueis, and the Order 66 heart-wrenching scene, and the birth of Luke and Leia, and Anakin becoming Darth Vader was such a brilliantly intercut and emotional ending. This movie is definitely by far the darkest of the prequels, while the darkest of the Star Wars movies, and emotionally powerful. People really overlook that about this film, and at least Jar Jar Binks was barely in it at all, and there aren't any Ewoks, thank goodness, so there was much more tension and emotion in this film than there ever were in Return of the Jedi for me. So yeah, a lot of you are going to disagree with me, but Revenge of the Sith is one of my all-time favourites. Well, now guys, the top 3 I consider just classics. You're all going to easily agree with me on this one. Episode 4, A New Hope, is number 3. New Hope, what a revolutionary, outstanding film it was for its time. George Lucas had to prove his doubters wrong, and he did just that. So the opening crawl, such a memorable way to start a movie. Whenever you see that and hear that classic John Williams score, you know it's Star Wars. John Williams' score in A New Hope, just unbelievable. It is probably his best score for any movie, and all of the characters are so fun, lovable, and timeless. Luke, Han, Leia, 3PO, R2, Chewie, and Obi-Wan, and Darth Vader being one of cinema's greatest villains ever. Yeah, Luke started out as maybe a bit whiny, but that was the point. He was supposed to be, so that he could grow and become the badass Jedi we know him to be. All all of the locations are beautifully shot with all real practical effects. This was back when they didn't need CGI, and the sunset scene, the binary sunset, just magnificent, perfect cinema. The final battle, the assault on the Death Star, absolutely astonishing climax to me. That must have blown people away back in the cinema, and it's more than just a great Star Wars movie and start to the originals. It's a perfect film in general. Number 2 on my list, the one everybody loves, everyone would consider the best, The Empire Strikes Back. It is one of the most epic, satisfying, most masterful sequels ever made. I mean, everything you loved about A New Hope is here, but done so much better. Darth Vader is so much more badass and more of a threat than he ever was in A New Hope. We actually get one of the greatest Star Wars openings, the Battle of Hoth, which is one of my personal favourite movie battles in general, and I love Luke training with Yoda. This was the first time we saw Yoda, and that puppet brilliantly brought to life by Frank Oz. It again continues with great practical effects without much CGI, and the stakes are so much higher here. You feel for the rebellion throughout the film because the Empire are just thrashing their asses. They feel much more of a threat here with their classic Imperial March theme, dun 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 dun. And the Han and Leia's romance is so powerful. It's really sweet, and it's so much less boring than Padme and Anakin's. And that classic line, "I love you, I know," when Han gets frozen in carbonite, who else cried? And Lando Calrissian is great. Him betraying them to the Empire was a very interesting way they took his character, but redeeming himself was great. And Luke and Vader's lightsaber duel, absolutely epic. One of the best lightsaber fights in the series, and the "I am your father" reveals cinema's greatest twist. And I feel sorry fans having to wait 3 years for Return of the Jedi. I bet they couldn't wait after such a phenomenal cliffhanger like that. You must be asking yourself, what could possibly be better than Empire Strikes Back? Well, it would be number 1, if not for my number 1 choice. My number 1 choice, in my opinion, the best of them all, Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, people like this film, but not everyone will agree with me that's the best of the 7, but I stand by my opinion. The Force Awakens is just a perfect Star Wars film, and perfect film for me. I have seen it loads of times and love it even more as I watch it. Daisy Ridley as Rey, just awesome. Star Wars best female character to date. John Boyega as Finn, awesome. He's a stormtrooper with actual personality who becomes good, which we didn't get in the originals. BB-8, so adorable. Worthy successor to 3PO and R2. Han Solo and Chewie came back with a bang, and Harrison Ford clearly loved doing this film. Kylo Ren, one of the greatest villains ever, even more engaging and better than Darth Vader in my opinion. Supreme Leader Snoke, so intriguing. I really hope he is Darth Plagueis. It would make so much sense if he is. And the action, phenomenal. J.J. Abrams, boy can he do action, as the action here does remind you of Star Trek, but that works. And as we get the chase of Jakku, the Battle of Tankua, the phenomenal climax, the Battle of Starkiller Base, which is even more formidable than the Death Star. It shows how much bigger a threat the First Order were than the Empire. Han Solo's death, truly shocking, took us all by surprise. It shows that this film actually took risks and gave the Resistance a reason to avenge Han in the next movie. The lightsaber fight, just truly epic, and I'm glad it went back to the simplistic style of lightsaber fights from the originals. And the film actually shows us practical effects without any CGI. The pacing flawless, never bored, and John Williams is back to do the score, which is as usual phenomenal, and especially love the cliffhanger. This is my favourite Star Wars cliffhanger so far, when Rey meets Luke on the island. That got me wanting to see episode 8 and 9 immediately. I'm like, why the hell do we have to wait 2 more years to find out what happens next? It's so unfair. And yeah, The Force Awakens, it is an instant classic, and it will be remembered as the film that brought Star Wars back. It brought the magic back. Well, that was my ranking of all 7 Star Wars movies. I love you guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this list, and stay tuned for my Rogue One review. So excited. And how would you rank the Star Wars films? Comment, let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow us and on Google+, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.